Okay, thanks very much. That was really interesting, the discussion. I just want to say something which is close to my heart, that is the funding of the arts in Australia. It's a very practical question. My daughter, both my daughters are in the arts. One's a filmmaker. I said to her, why couldn't you be a poet? And then I could have given you an exercise book and a pen. A filmmaker can't get out of bed without $10,000 to even start the day.
That's right.
Anyway, I'll leave that one aside. But both my daughters are involved in the arts. The battle for funding of the arts is fundamental. The material basis of actually survival of artists, whatever field they are in, is sort of it's so fundamental to the continuation of the arts that it can affect, what kind of artistic production we have in Australia. Leave aside the actual formal political side of which you are. It just seems to me that it was shown up by the recent dispute over George Brandis kind of attempting apparently to take to sort of set up a formal government funding, like the popes and the
Medici.
The feudal times.
Yes.
Medici. I mean, how can we solve this problem? Because it seems to me an enormous amount of money there is a corporate aspect of where the arts is funded by corporate entities that provides a lot of money. But what about the new people? What about the young people? Yeah. What about people coming through? How can we find funding for these people? And I have to speak from my own feeling that from my reports from my own daughters, that this is a serious problem in Australia at the moment, the funding of the arts, and it not be controlled and politically controlled by government, but that some sort of independent force be done for that. Okay, thank you.
Yes, it's an interesting question and it's a perennial one. I look back at, the irony is that if you look at the figures, Liberal governments tend to give more money to the arts than Labor governments. Now a lot of that money goes to maybe higher end arts organisations like the opera or the ballet, and it's because a lot of Liberal electorates have a high proportion of people who attend high arts functions, perhaps. But Keating, when he was Prime Minister and Arts Minister, what he did, I think, which we don't have and which will generate more interest and income than any direct funding, is just putting the arts onto the agenda, making it a subject you can talk about, making it a subject part worthy as a national conversation. I remember talking to Edmund Capon once when Bob Carr was Premier. In Victoria, the Premier of Victoria would go to every gallery opening and had no problem, and it's pretty much the same nowadays. And Bob Carr was a friend of Edmund Capon, but he would never go to an opening of the art gallery. And Edmund said, why don't you come along? He said, because I would be crucified on every morning radio program, because I'm, with the lovies. Now, Bob Carr is a very educated, cultured, cultivated man who knows a lot about the arts, but he felt unable to bring the arts onto the agenda when there are things like hospitals, education, WestConnect, whatever. And I think part of the problem for us is that we've allowed it to slide off the discussion, and we've been painted into a corner where we're seen as being elitist and not deserving. Second thing is, I think, breathe a huge sigh of relief that we still have a national broadcaster. That does cost $1 billion a year. It's a lot of money, but thank God we've still got it. And you look at the countries, and particularly in the changing media landscape around the world, and fake news and Breitbart and whatever you want to do, the Russians hacking, whatever, at least we've got the ABC, Britain's got the BBC, Canada's got theirs, and I think, do the French have a public broadcasting system? I think they do. I'm not quite sure. So every country, public broadcasting might be the last bastion of any sort of decency in a democratic debate. But arts funding, it's a tricky one, because people, and particularly when we've had 20 years of revenue diminishment to the federal government through tax cuts, and it's just going to get worse. You can try and replace the shortfall with corporate funding, philanthropy, but philanthropists tend to go for recognised companies
And
bigger companies. The trouble, Brandis's Catalyst Fund, which you mentioned, where he was going to, at his discretion, give money to, that's been reversed, and Fifield has taken that money back into the Australia Council. But in the Australia Council, they struggle. How many applications can you service? How do you know who are the young emerging artists? You've got to take a punt, and in fiscally restrained times, they're increasingly risk averse, and it's getting harder and harder for younger people. Listen, Genevieve is about to be in Melbourne, new Australian musical. Wayne Harrison's directing it. Mark Thompson's designing it, very well established designer. Emma Matthews, one of our greatest opera singers, is performing in it. They're performing it in a 100-seat theatre that cannot pay its way to pay them all equity minimum. So it's got that back. And when you've got people of that calibre working effectively on a cooperative level, but then some people would argue, why do we need to pay them? Why shouldn't artists be... Robin Archer has this theory. She never goes to stand-up comics. She said, my friends and family should make me laugh. I shouldn't be paying people to make me laugh. And she's got a point. Wow. Unfortunately, your daughters have chosen the most cost-intensive art to pursue, other than sculpture. So, I don't know. Jen, what do you think?
I have nothing to add. I mean, it's dire straits, but we go on. I'm sure your stories, whatever your profession, is probably similar to ours. By what's the pro rata, we all got paid more 20, 30 years ago. It was cheaper to live then. All those things. This is life, and this is what we do. And I know a lot of people don't like me saying this, but I do feel very lucky to be making a living at this thing. That,
Yeah.
A lot of people. Hopefully your daughters will, hopefully, are they daughters? Did you say daughters?
Daughters, yeah.
Two daughters. Yeah. Hopefully they'll make it lucky. But I know a lot of people who've done the study with the cinema, and they're still making short films because they can, because they're a much, much smaller, more reasonable budget. So go ahead.
Just a couple of things.
Yeah.
I mean, the film industry as an economic model is one that's fascinating. Very few films ever make their money back. Even Hollywood films, very few ever make a profit or even return the money to the investors, but there's something about the allure of it that people are willing to throw money down an open drain. The other problem is that the arts funding in this country has been squeezed by a shift to vocational training. We now have more drama schools, more placements for filmmakers, animators, games designers, whatever, and those schools, like the universities, encourage as many people to come to them as possible. So you'll have certified courses that cost quite a bit of dough, like $18,000 for a student to study music theatre, and some of the teachers say, most of these people are never going to get a job, they're just not good enough. And it's a cutthroat world. So we have more actors, performers, artists emerging into the profession every year than we've ever had, and fewer paying jobs. So
Heartbreak.
Okay. All right. Now,
Next.
Another microphone,
Oh, yes.
please. I'm going to say
Thank
control. Okay. Well, you'll be the next, but remember the rule: 2 to 3 minutes only for your question. It has to be very focused, and you have to say to whom you are addressing your question. As for the rest of you, thank you.
And not be mean to Jonathan.
And Charlie, so gentleman over there in the third row, put your hand up again so we know. Hands at the back, do you see all the hands?
Yes.
Yeah, because I want to make sure everybody who wants to ask a question will get a change, which is why we're going to have a strict rule, no more than 3 minutes on the question, and it has to be relevant. Okay, away you go.
Can I have 2 minutes uninterrupted, Wing, since you've just put a 2 minute speech?
You're wasting time.
Genevieve, can you take the microphone off, Wing? Just so I can.
I'm not allowed. I have too much respect for her.
okay, let's hear it.
Go ahead.
Right, now, I just noticed that Jonathan said at least we've got the $1 billion Australian Broadcasting Commission.
do we, given the fact that they have just put bollards in Martin Place because of the war on terror, and they've put bollards at Surrey Hills Police Station because of the war on terror, what have they done down at our little ABC in Harris Street? They have shut down the shop. They have shut down the restaurant. They have put a security guard at the door. Dozens of ABC journalists used to get their sources by people coming and having a cup of coffee with them in that restaurant. There used to be exhibitions there. There are live recordings there, but now there is a security guard at the door, and unless you have a specific appointment, you cannot get into our ABC that we pay. That's part of the war on terror. It's the official explanation as to why it's impossible to penetrate the building now. So bear that in mind. No, 2 minutes, you shut the fuck up, Win, or I'll go back to Surrey Hills.
We're actually not going to accept that language.
All right.
I think so.
Cultural wars, neoliberalism. I'd like the speakers to comment on that. Trade unionism versus celebrities and cyberspace. My ex-flatmate has worked in the industry, the Actors Equity and the Media Entertainment Alliance that covers them. None of the workers that are set designers anymore out at Moore Park will join the union because they always get treated like shit.
Okay, you've made your point now, you're being unfair.
My final thing
Can
is,
someone actually
given
stop
the
this
fact
man?
that 600 million was spent by Canberra promoting war last year, why didn't the New South Wales Writers Centre or the war fringe address that issue during their comedic performances for the Lower North Shore who attended those 10 days I handed out flyers down at the War Theatre? And will you promote it this December the 2nd for the second defeat of the conscription referendum?
Okay.
Okay.
Few questions there.
Here we go.
Not make it quick because I've got 3 people.
Look, I thoroughly agree with you. The war on terror, that's a whole other subject that we could spend many hours discussing. The ABC, like any other government institution, is facing not only financial pressures. I have reserving judgment on the current management, but you remember that they have tried before to emasculate the ABC when they put Jonathan Shire in, and that actually had the reverse effect of concentrating more money into news and current affairs as a resistance. I'm not so sure that the current managing director is as open to that as others may have been. Program making, I mean, again, the problem facing every content provider in the world is that the more content you have and the more content that is needed to fill all these platforms, the less money there is to pay for it. Like journalism has collapsed because there is no financial model to replace classified advertising. Commercial television will be a thing of the past in 10 years, maybe not even that long. And when you've got your Netflixes and your HBOs, again, it will just be a continuation of American cultural imperialism because they're the only ones who've got the critical mass to afford it.
Yes.
So we're going to be facing those problems in terms of culture wars, not only within our own country, but from others. There's so many things in the modern day. Everyone always said the first question they ask is who's paying for it. And we've also bred a generation of consumers who use the internet who don't want to pay for anything. So yeah, I agree. It's pretty slim pickings.
Thank you. Next.
Charlie, who's the next person?
Sorry, I just did remember that I heard last week on ABC Radio a woman from Melbourne talking about bringing back conscription. Did you hear that?
No.
It was pretty horrendous. Pretty horrendous. And she said she wanted discipline for the young people, and I thought, and she had a son, and I just thought, what are you thinking?
Okay, sir.
Anyway.
Could you stand up?
I'd be interested in both your insights.
Could you just tell us who you are?
I'm
Christian name, isn't it?
Andy, hello.
Thank you.
Hi, Andy.
Interested in both your insights into, to paraphrase, the greatest social as well as moral challenge of our time. When I was young, it was called climate warming, and now it's called climate change. There's this huge denialism that goes on at like every political, cultural, social, you name it, level of our world. And yet today, for example, was an unseasonably warm day, as we've had for a few weeks.
So the question
What's
is...
going on?
Okay.
Well, as an artist, I know an awful lot about climate modelling. What's going on in terms of denial?
I'm interested in denialism. What's
Denialism.
Why do we have political infrastructure? Political infrastructures are mute.
Well, I think that's because climate change, like so many other things, is an issue that is easily politicised, and then it becomes, you know, when did the left-right divide on climate change ever start? Someone started that. It didn't start by itself. I suspect it was from the Conservative side, I have to say. There is no agenda, but the interesting thing about climate change is it's probably too late anyway, but most of the momentum is coming from the private sector because they realise there's no money in it. I think, you know, Volvo announcing that they're only going to make electric cars from 2019. It's not our children's generation, it's now. Britain, possibly going to phase out all petrol and diesel vehicles by 2040. That's not that far away. And you think, well, these things are inevitable. Why is there no political catching up? Well, isolated down in this country to one man who has been the most destructive force to hit the body politic in this country for a century. Well, not only Kim Beazley, after him, one T. Abbott.
Yes.
And if you trace everything that Abbott has done, he has been the singularly most destructive force. If Turnbull and Rudd had just gone with that, again, the Greens, they have to bear the responsibility of, you know, blocking in the Senate, but they thought they were doing the right thing. They all think they're doing the right thing. I mean, this is the thing that we forget. All politicians are motivated by a singular belief that their opinion is the right one. And unfortunately, Abbott has, you look at the whole, you know, we would have had a carbon tax. No one cared when it came in. Business was ready for it. We were all ready for it. Whyalla didn't disappear. A leg of lamb didn't cost $100. Irony is it probably will now because we didn't act earlier. But I don't know what you're going to do about that. And I think, again, you know, as a political satirist, you think, well, how many times can we bang on about this? How can we approach this subject differently? So we're doing Malcolm Roberts this year, and we just hope that he doesn't get booted out because he's, you know, born in Jersey or something. I know, India, wasn't he?
India.
Born in India. But we've got Malcolm Roberts as Don Quixote, railing against a wind farm.
Tilting at windmills.
Unbelievable facts to fight for alternative truth.
Okay.
So we'll do that. So, you know, in our feeble way, but everyone knows he's a nut job. We don't need to tell people. But unfortunately, he's there, and we are paying him 200 and whatever thousand per year
It's rubbish.
to do that. But that's democracy for you.
Question.
Genevieve, answer that. Climate change and the arts.
Well, this is just a personal thing, and I have written a show about it, but I want politicians' finances to be completely transparent. That's all. For the rest of their lives.
Yeah, but then everyone's buddy. Okay. Look, I know I make a living making fun of politicians, but I do feel sorry for them a lot of the time. I think they've got the worst job in the world. No, would you want to be a politician? Would you seriously want to do it? To cop all the abuse? I know, but most of the politicians I've met from all sides, well, I don't think they do live in a bubble. Well, they kind of do. But the problem is that the bubble is reinforced by everything that goes on around them. It's not their fault entirely.
Rupert Murdoch.
Indeed. How can a politician, how can you articulate policy when you're constantly on the back foot watching who's going to, you know, be the next leader? How can you articulate policy when all the news networks will give you, and even the ABC is 40 seconds at best, and it's gone even down from that? How can you have any discussion? I was talking to a Fairfax journalist. The average subbing time for a Fairfax article now is 2 minutes. 2 minutes. journalists, when they submit stories, they used to submit a trial headline. There you go, just toss that around. Now they just print that. So it's very difficult for any serious political discussion to reach the public because we take it seriously, but most people don't, and then they just turn around and say, I'll blame the politicians. But the ones making the serious money, it's not in the political sphere, it's in the bloody private sphere. Why don't we have full disclosure on every CEO in this country?
I think that's a great idea.
So full disclosure. Right, get out your tax return, tell me what you earned. How much did you earn last year, Jen?
I haven't done a tax return for it yet.
Question?
Lady?
Please
Yes.
stand up so we can
leads
see you.
nicely into my question, which is, seems to me one of the biggest social justice issues facing all of us around the world, but Australia as much as anywhere, is economic inequality. And so how do we think the arts can address that, or how can we address that through the arts? And my question's to both of you.
Very good.
Doesn't exist according to Scott Morrison.
Yeah, I know, what a joke.
Okay, great question.
Addressing inequality, economic inequality through the arts.
Thank Jonathan Biggins.
Exactly.
Jonathan Biggins. Nobody's employing him.
Well, again, what we've been discussing up to this point, we have to articulate it, we have to call it out, and I think it's up to us when the cultural wars rear their ugly heads. Don't let people like Scott Morrison get away with the politics of envy. Don't let those people who bring up these terms and these weasel words, as Don Watson calls them, don't allow it to perpetuate. Now, I guess actors are the wrong people to talk to, really. It's journalists, opinion makers, all those sorts of things. They're the people who most need to be told.
writers, yeah.
But I think we have to, and also stand up for the arts as an agent of discussion and examining these things, and stand up for it as a valid voice, because too often the voice that will call on our income inequality is dismissed or patronised, and I think we collectively have to rid ourselves of this ivory tower thing and show that we should be and can be. I mean, the difficulty is, it's like when Kate Blanchett, if she ever talked up about climate change, oh, you're just a celebrity, go back to Hollywood, what do you know? Now, she's an intelligent woman who actually knew an awful lot about climate change because she'd studied it and she'd actually worked very hard on the project to put in the largest solar array in this country on a commercial building, which is the Wharf, which is covered in things. So she did know about it, but Andrew Bolts and all those sort of people are going to just sneeringly dismiss her. So we have to be able to articulate our opinions and our beliefs without being dismissed as celebrities. And it comes back to the very problem we said at the beginning of the whole night, that we're often called on because we've got some kind of social profile or public profile through our work. Now, the hard thing is to actually overcome the prejudice that attaches to that from your detractors. And you say, well, I have a right to express this opinion publicly, not just because I was in Home and Away, or because I'm the artistic director of the Sydney Theatre Company, but actually know what I'm bloody talking
person
about.
and I vote.
And I have a right to say this, and I have a right to articulate it, and if I can articulate it and convince people, why shouldn't I? So that's what I reckon we can do. Jen?
And then give me the mic.
When I was asked to do this, I thought, get Jonathan along, because Jonathan speaks so well. He's extremely intelligent, and like I said before, he's a writer, so he comes up with the ideas and he follows through on projects. I'm just an actor, and I don't mean anything. No. Let me finish. I don't mean to put myself. I'm not putting myself down. I love being an actor. That's what I do. That's what I chose to do, and I love it. But I'm not a mouthpiece like this guy who can just express an opinion so eloquently and so well, and I wish I could, but so if I can be a mouthpiece, then I will, but I'll probably be asking these people for some information, or Jonathan. So yeah, I don't mean to put myself down at all. I'm just saying there are actors, and then there are people who can, you know, actually come up with arguments and.
Next question.
Hi, my name's Andy.
Oh, hi, Andy.
Can you stand up so we can see you? Can you stand
Andy.
up?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, and I guess first of all, just one quick comment on the idea of like your daughter couldn't afford to be a filmmaker. When on one level, anybody who's got one of these, you can actually shoot, edit, and if you're a good storyteller, you can make some content that can work and get seen.
Yeah.
But I guess my question, which sort of relates to the question I'm going to ask, which is about funding and the abysmal lack of funding for the arts in Australia. But my question, I guess, relates to should artists of whatever area of the arts they work in, if they're passionate about a social justice issue, shouldn't they just get on and do it anyway? I guess in the days of my youth up in Queensland under Joe Bjelke-Petersen, there was no funding he hated the arts.
Yeah.
And there was the most thriving art scene, whether it was music, whether it was alternative theatre, whatever filmmaking, whatever it was, there was this thriving resistance pushing back because people just got on and did it anyway. I don't know if the Pram Factory had government funding or not, but I guess my question is, shouldn't we, all the artists, just be getting on and doing it anyway, even if you don't have the funding?
We have to, don't we, Andy? But then we also have to pay for rent in Enmore. Or wherever. Yeah, so that we sort of spoke about that earlier, but yeah.
I think that echoes back to Robin Archer's comment. And there is a case to be mounted that why should artists be paid for it?
I think they should be paid.
Well, but I mean, I think you're right. But when you get the democratisation of a production process like an iPhone, where anyone can be a filmmaker, reminds me of the joke, two guys in the bar. Oh, what are you up to? The other one says, oh, I'm running a novel. The other one says, really? Neither am I. But that is the thing. Anyone can be a writer now. Anyone can be a journalist. Anyone can be a filmmaker, anyone can be a painter.
Have an opinion,
and that's fine. But the thing is that the Western cultural tradition evolved over many years through patrons and people paying. The idea of paying was to actually sort of have some sort of editorial, curatorial avenue where the best would be selected and presented for your... We can't watch everybody's films, so we try to think, well, who's a really good filmmaker, who's really good at it? I know you can do it, but are you any good at it? However, that doesn't stop anyone who wants to do it from doing it, and they should do it.
Absolutely.
Everyone has a creative outlet, everyone is creative and has a point to make. They may not do it as well as some others who are better versed at it, but there's no reason why you shouldn't do it. And that's why every garage band in the world, every parent-teacher band, why kids do ballet. I mean, Betty Churcher said there is creativity in a cake, making a cake. That's an act of creation. And why shouldn't people do it? No, you don't have to get paid for it. If you're a brilliant cake maker, you'll get paid for it. But it doesn't stop everyone else doing it. So I think you're dead right. Everyone should get out there and do it. However, again, the corollary of that is, the more that people do it, supply and demand, under that terrible rule of economics, those who rely on it for a living will have less and less money. And while I agree that the arts should be funded as part of, the wider question of why do we have government, why do we pay tax, for a number of reasons. Libraries, parks, whatever, defence, International Institute of Sport. I don't play sport, but I don't begrudge them their money. So yes, but that doesn't mean that everyone has to have money. And I think there's a line between, the Review's an interesting case. We work for a subsidised theatre company, but we get no money from that company. We get the venue, but we make them a profit. And we're only there because we're making the money. And when the STC started, 47% of it came from government. Now 7% of their revenue comes from government. Philanthropy and sponsorship has actually overtaken it. Of the money they get from the state government, most of it goes back immediately in rental for the drama theatre and rental for the Ross Packet. So it's a different, the Opera Australia, everyone goes, oh, well, you always give that money to all those people, they're so rich. They're not rich. They, of any opera company in the world, they earn more money from the box office than any other comparable company. So we are very efficient in this country, producing great art without a lot of government funding. But I think it's more a question, the best audience you can have is a paying audience who've come along, paid their ticket and want to see you. And the best response an artist can get is to have a full house, or to have a sellout exhibition or sell a lot of books or whatever. So I think at certain levels, yes, we do need some government funding, but unfortunately the more and more people who want to be artists, we can't fund everybody.
Yeah.
And I would actually go out on them and say we shouldn't.
No.
And I think there is something about the creative drive within people that is a much better motivator than getting a bit of funding. But I say that from the luxury of having been able to make a living. But I'll tell you what, if I just had stayed an actor, I'd be poverty stricken by now. I had to go out and create the work because no one was going to hire me. You were lucky they hired you.
I think it was then with us too, Andy, that we used to complain back in the 80s, and they were casting for, say, soap operas and stuff, and they cast literally a surfie, off the beach. They could say, come along, oh yeah, you can speak, yeah, come and do, and we all complained about that. But of course, you can't complain about that because, as Jonathan says, everyone is entitled to their creative outlet. But if we all get a smaller slice of the pie, but there are more people working, there's something to be said for that. Although I want a bigger piece of the pie.
Yeah.
My friend Gareth over here, you work at the New Theatre.
I have.
You have, and it's been going for how many years?
Since 1932.
Since 1932, and I'd say...
Haven't any government funding whatsoever.
Never have. There was Socialist Theatre Company very famously when it started, which it kept, well, it still does now.
Ensemble where you did Virginia Woolf, where you just performed in Virginia Woolf, they don't get a cent
from government money.
It's all off their own backs.
Give them a plug.
It can be done. It's bloody hard. And there are certain more arcane art forms that obviously do need it. You're not going to make a living as a poet. Well, 3 people might, but that doesn't mean we should discourage poetry. And people may need a helping hand just to keep going. We want galleries, we want libraries. They cost money. Yeah, sure, absolutely fund them because they have a social value that we all appreciate. I mean, this is the thing we did the Helpmans on Monday night. More people see live performances in this country than go to sport.
Is that right?
Yeah, if you include music.
That was my
Yeah.
Well, say something a bit more.
More people visit libraries every week than go to sporting games. Now, that's not including viewing numbers on TV, I have to hasten to add. But we could argue every television drama that's made, every television comedy, every documentary, that's the arts. They're watching the arts on TV.
What about MasterChef?
Well, it stems from the same tradition. It stems from the same storytelling. It's structured in the same way. It uses dramatic structure. It's edited with an inch of its life. It's completely curated storytelling. Now, it's a different form. You wouldn't call it high art, but it's still art.
Yes.
I reckon.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything more? Come on, go for it.
I think audiences are quite complex. Whether they're 3 of them or 10 or 1,000 at a rock concert, they're complex.
Of course they are.
People strategically choose not just imperialist television series to watch.
NCIS.
They can, go to live theatre and footy games and all sorts of things, which is what you've been talking about. But my real question is about Bill Moyer, the cartoonist. He's recently gone from being the daily cartoonist in the Fairfax publication to only Saturday. And I wondered if
Alan Moyer.
Alan Moyer. Sorry, I've got them.
That's okay.
Alan Moyer. He's now only on Saturday.
Yes.
He's a bit of a hero of mine.
Yes.
And quite frankly, I don't think he would have ever been made in the controversy of the Aboriginal cartoon.
No, he has more taste and
But I would
discretion.
like to know if you know whether he was forced to a 1 day a week or whether he chose to retire. Crazy.
I don't know.
I just want to know.
I suspect he may be voluntarily cutting back to those hours. I don't think there will only be a Saturday edition of the Herald within 6 months, probably. That'll be the last print one. They'll get rid of the. And if the if the takeover bids succeed from the hedge funds in America, it'll basically be the Domain. It's the only section of Fairfax that makes money anymore, with a little news insert.
And no arts
the
pages.
only reason they're keeping print at the moment is because it is a vehicle to distribute Domain. And then they're thinking, well, the only edition we need is the Saturday edition, so we'll do that. I don't know that Moya, because they still have a cartoon every day, and they wouldn't. I know they're not as good, but I don't think they would have asked Alan to
Only do one.
only
day.
do one. I think that's probably his choice.
We should find out.
Because he's getting on, isn't he?
Bring him up and find out.
Yeah, but I think it would be his choice. I don't think. I mean, Fairfax have identified certain key people that they can't afford to lose. Peter Fitzsimons, Peter Harcher, Ross Gittins, Kate McClymont. There was another one. Yeah, she's probably not key. And I'd say Moya would have been in the top 10 because, I mean, this is the interesting thing. Most of the reasons people buy newspapers are the ones they're stripping out.
Most of the what?
The reasons you buy a newspaper. You buy a newspaper for the crossword, the cartoon, the TV guide, whatever, and those things are now deemed unnecessary, and they're the ones that are being flicked. And it's not just, I mean, Fairfax had that dramatic 125 journalists. There are journalists being let go from News Limited every week. They have lost, I think when I did the Walkleys 2 years ago, 800 journalists lost their jobs that year. And that was 2 years ago. So it's pretty grim. It's really grim. But I think Moya
What
probably...
sort of percentage would that be, do you reckon? 800?
Of the newsroom? Of the population of journalists? Oh.
I mean, for that...
Paper.
You're talking about one paper?
125 out of Fairfax, that's probably...
That was 25%.
Yeah, 20% to 25% of the remaining journalists. They'd already gone through the redundancies before. Murdoch got rid of all their staff photographers. They've got rid of all their subs.
Yeah.
Community radio is the only way forward.
Yeah.
TV.
I've got a lovely community radio story. A friend of mine did an interview on North Shore Community Radio, and he said, how many listeners have you got? They said, well, we don't really know. We had a phone line installed 3 months ago for giveaways and competitions, and we can give away some tickets for your show. Do you get many calls? We haven't had any yet.
Okay.
Could I just say that happened to me once on Stanza Manic?
Oh, well, that'd be
Gary Scale and I, this is many years ago, 20 years ago this year, when we were doing the Titanic show, which was called Titanic, a musical comedy. And 20 years ago, they had to explain it to me. I didn't know what it meant. But we went on Stanza Manic and we said, we've got 3 double passes to give away. Got back to the office. I'm still waiting for a call. We didn't get one call, so...
You won't be getting one from Stan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, not big on the arts to be his listeners, I don't think. Oh, he's well dead. But yeah, I think, Andy, if you want to join me, I'm going to start putting myself out as a, like a jester. And I'll be employed by a Medici-type family, I hope. And you can document it for me, would you?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go. Come on. Oh, could you just tell all your rich friends that Jonathan and I are available to be I'm happy to be a house monkey. I'll sing a song now and then, or you can write some jokes.
I think I'd rather be employed as a hermit. That was the top job.
Who pays for that?
They used to have hermits. You would rent
in
a
your
hermit.
house?
No, on your estate.
Oh.
You live in a cave, and people would come and look at you occasionally. And you just had to live in a cave by yourself, and that was your job. Tops.
There you go.
Have a Facebook page.
Yeah, that's right.
By nature of definition,
One more?
cannot have a
Last,
Facebook.
last one. There's one more question.
We've got 15 minutes.
No, you haven't.
I'm sorry, I'm using my phone.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Elizabeth.
So I think we've got time for at least two. Okay.
I'm glad we've got back there.
Please stand up. Can we stand up so we can see you?
Sorry,
Thank
my
you.
name's Elizabeth.
Elizabeth,
And can I
Andy.
sit down because I've got a back?
Oh, that's okay. Oh, I thought, of
I
course.
didn't bring my stick tonight, but...
That's fine. That's
Can
fine.
any celebrities please identify themselves for the microphone? I don't know who this Andy is.
Not a celebrity.
Oh,
That is actually, that is rude.
my flatmate.
That is
Kind of.
With regard to the but I think you're actually better jobs a Colchester. However, now we've got back to the money. I'm just wondering if our simple problem in Australia, if there's such a thing as a simple problem, is that we have enormous talent, amazing talent, but not many people. And I have to say, in Sydney, I actually do know a lot of people who would adore to go to the theatre, but the fact is they can't afford it. You know, I'm in a sort of lucky position because I don't have children, and you know, a few other, but a lot of my friends do, and then they have grandchildren, and then they're paying for the grandchildren to go to bloody school because the parents, whatever, or they've got their kids at home because whatever. They can't afford it. And you know, I wish we had a healthy half-ticks. I wish we had a healthy student
Rush.
I wish we had. I've got a sister in a wheelchair and I tried to get her into something the other day. I said, she's in a wheelchair, for God's sake. Sorry, love, you're not into it.
Well,
You know, sometimes I wish we could just somehow just create, you know, generous windows of opportunity for people who simply cannot afford it. Because most of our talent, I don't think it's elitist, I think our things would be gloriously appreciated by a wide range of people if only we actually were proactive in finding avenues for them to get into those. Just not, I mean, I know it's expensive, I know the theatre, but maybe every now and again perhaps put on a
they do.
show in the park.
Yes.
And say, just this week, come and have a look.
Yes.
So that would be...
well, there are a number of things, and I think part of the problem is they're not well publicised, but the Suncorp 20s, for example, that STC do.
Thursday mornings,
Suncorp.
9 a.m. Suncorp 20, $20
Every
tickets,
Thursday,
9
they
a.m.
release tickets to every performance for $20. And that alone is sponsored by the Suncorp Bank. That is a $500,000 sponsorship a year just to cover that. You either ring
On the
up
phone.
or turn up. Or
Oh, you
you
do?
can do it online. If you turn up, if you've got a spare minute, 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning, get down $20. No cards required, don't have to be a senior or anything like that. You can just turn up.
With your
Is that
$20.
Sydney Theatre Company only?
Just that particular scheme is Sydney Theatre Company only. Belvoir Street do performances for
Unemployed, that final Thursday of the season.
or unwaged. Griffin have
Monday.
yep. So there are ways around it.
Even the ensemble does a kids' day, a free kids' day, which is, I think, a great
So,
thing.
but I once had an idea that arts funding should not subsidise artists or companies. It should subsidise audience members.
Yeah.
And you should actually get a voucher from the government that will enable you to go and buy a ticket. And they say that the funding actually comes through sales. The only trouble with that is then only the popular shows get the most of the subsidy. But if we could encourage an audience to go and see, but again, the irony, I was on the board of the STC. I did extensive audience research. And they, you know, everyone says, oh, you've got to do innovative stuff to get new people in, get young people in, I'll come and see it and make it really cheap and that'll be great. New work is taken up first by the longest serving subscribers. They're the ones who will take a risk and they're the ones who encourage new work. And the people who don't normally go to the theatre, they'll go to the Kate Blanchett show, because she's in it. So there are some certain, not myths, but there are some certain half-truths floating around about, and when you actually dig down into the audience figures, but you're right, it's very hard to go and see a reserve opera, but I'll tell you, go to New York and then you come back and think, God, this is cheap.
Yeah. Okay.
I think if you really love something, really want to,
Yeah,
make
sure.
it a priority.
Don't send your grandkids to private school.
Really love
Yeah.
it, then you don't
Yeah.
do something else,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
But
Now,
engagement with the arts has always been a problem.
Now we're getting closer to our closing time. I think there's somebody who just wanted to ask a question. Can you do that? You, sir, would you have your...
Over in the corner there is.
Corner? Okay, I think...
Last man,
Are you
standing?
happy for us to be a little bit after 8:15?
Why is there more street theatre?
Why
Well,
isn't
This will be
there?
our last
You know what this
question,
means,
and then I have some important things
Buskers
to
with
say.
amplifiers.
Oh.
Hate that.
Oh.
Anyway.
Oh, thank you for a very entertaining evening tonight. That will keep the crowd coming.
Thank you.
Graham's my name. A couple of things. We're known as the clever country, but the two major issues at the moment, electricity and broadband, are both debicals. That should put pay to that title once and for all. The other thing I would say to the lady worried about the cartoonist, the last one to leave will be Looney from Fairfax, I think. They publish his own calendar for the year, and he is a man of for poetry, and your worry of poets. I think if we can keep Looney on the straight and narrow, we've got something to read. And the other thing I'd be interested, a man as versatile as Jonathan, I'd like to know what's a typical week. Thank you.
That's a good question.
Good question.
Well, I'm amazed Looney hasn't taken his own life by this point.
He's a little Cohen.
Yeah, but boy, he must just sit in despair. First part of the question was about electricity and broadband. Yes, well, that plays into the whole debacle of privatisation. I mean, anyone who seriously thought that privatising electricity assets in this country was going to bring the price down was deluded. If Telstra was still in government hands, we would have had the NBN at a fraction of the cost. And no one has even begun to talk about what we're going to do with the copper network. So you just think, God almighty, it's just so annoying. Anyway, typical week. This week, Monday, we bumped into the beautiful Capitol Theatre to rehearse the Helpman Awards, which I was directing, and that went off with a bang. As we tried to get through 45 awards as quickly as we could, so people didn't die before the thing was over. Tuesday, can't remember Tuesday. What's today? Thursday? Tuesday, production meeting for the Wharf Review. Rehearsal start Monday next week. Wednesday, writing session with a woman called Linda Nagel, who I'm writing a new show for, on spec. No money, no funding, but we thought, bugger it, we'll do it anyway.
For theatre or?
For theatre, for musical theatre. I can't reveal it because it's top secret, and I think some other bastard will pinch the idea. Hopefully we have interest from the opera company, so you never know. But again, they go, well, we haven't got any money. Okay, well, we'll do it anyway. Thursday, politics in the pub. Very exciting.
New website, don't forget.
Tomorrow night, hosting the Newcastle University Alumni Awards, as I'm a graduate, so I'm emceeing that. Freebie. Tonight, freebie. And then on Sunday night, this is quite interesting, there's a young group of people who are trying to engage entrepreneurship in the arts and trying to invigorate philanthropy and sponsorship in terms of the sponsors who give a lot of money to companies but very rarely have contact with the artists. So they've got Teddy Tahu Rhodes coming up from Melbourne. It's a dinner at Key. They've got an audience. He's got a 7-piece band. He's going to do 3 arias and I'm going to interview him for half an hour and they'll film it and hopefully, I don't know where, put it out as an interview. And the idea is to have a series of, and they're talking about people as diverse as Catherine Brisbane, Yvonne Kenny, Kate Mulvaney, people who made a contribution to the arts and just trying to engage with why they do it, how they do it, and hopefully get people who give a lot of money, give them a chance to experience the other side of it. So that's a nice idea.
Okay. Teddy Tahu Rhodes, the bald guy. Beautiful.
He's a very, very good bass baritone.
Bass baritone.
He's from New Zealand originally.
Did South Pacific with Lisa McCune.
He did.
He's
and I'm sure he's done a concert in the Domain, which is free.
Yes, there you go.
Now, before...
Genevieve's week.
Okay.
Oh, he didn't ask for me, he only asked for Jonathan.
So did he show you a week?
Well, yes, I'm rehearsing Melba. I'm writing a show, actually.
Are you?
That's all.
Oh. And when's it open?
I
When
didn't
is it
clean my
open?
house. You'll get that answer from me every week.
And when's
Isn't
it
that right, Andy?
And when's it open?
Melba open. Oh, I'm so sorry. Beg your pardon. Melba opens in a couple of weeks, I think. It plays through August at the Hayes Theatre.
Do you all know
And if for no, that's the one in King's Cross, Green No Avenue. If for no other reason, come and hear Emma Matthews sing, because
In a 100-seat theatre.
in a 100-seat
You're a
theatre,
operatic
you won't
singer.
miss a note. She's so beautiful and she makes me cry a lot, which I'm not supposed to be doing because I'm supposed to be a Teutonic teacher.
And unfortunately, she's been lost to us because she's just accepted the position of head of classical voice at Whopper.
Lots of financial reasons for that, and security for her kids and all that stuff.
Wagga Wagga.
Whopper.
WAPA, which is the Western Australian Performing Arts Academy, and she will be teaching classical singing, and all I can say is those students are bloody lucky. She's a great, great performer. Come and see Melba if you'd like to. It's going to be a nice show, I think.
Now, I want our audience to express your delight, your gratitude for what I think has been a fantastic, but fairly typical contribution by our two wonderful speakers, Jonathan and...
Thank you for coming.